Welcome back, everybody, to Orange Ball Podcast. I'm your host, Sam Winter, and today we do not have a guest, but joining me is now new co-host, Brendan Beall.
How's it going, guys? I'm excited to do this. I know we had talked about this for a little bit, and finally making it happen, man.
Yes, sir.
Beall, awesome.
Also known as Beall, so that's why I'll refer to him mostly. But tell the listeners and viewers at home a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so grew up in the great state of Washington, as we both know. Mm-hmm. Came to Boise State as a student, and it was during COVID. Got real bored and decided, hey, I'm gonna become a manager like our previous guest, Max Teams,
yep.
who was a good buddy of mine as well, and ended up getting involved, and it's where I met Sam here, and you know, we kind of hit it off, became friends early on in that, and you know, been rolling ever since, and both graduated, sat next to each other at graduation, and
yep.
you know, just been close and been talking about this for a little bit. So
yeah, glad to make it finally happen. Yeah. We've had a lot of ventures. We've gone from couch surfing at fraternity. We just had a trip to Seattle. If you watched the last episode, we talked a little bit about it, but that was a good time.
Yeah. Saw our buddy Tyson. Yeah, I'm excited. Excited to get this thing going, and you know, we're starting at the perfect time with kind of everything starting back up again, and got a lot of sports and stuff to talk about, which is great.
Yeah. Today we're just gonna, obviously this is a basketball podcast, but kind of being in the off season, it's not much to talk about. So we're gonna talk about basketball, but we're also gonna talk about college football because the first official weekend starts tomorrow, which is Thursday. This episode will probably come out after Thursday maybe, but college football starts Thursday, week 1. The main slate starts Saturday, so we're going to talk a little bit about that as well. But first, kind of looking at the 2024-25 NCAA basketball season, we have the odds of the NCAA National Championship here. Duke is plus 1,000 with UConn and Kansas, and then we got Alabama, Houston. I think for me, I think Duke fans, it's kind of Final Four bust for them.
Yeah.
Especially since last year they kind of missed out, especially with Jared McCain and Cal Filipowski, and it was really disappointing to the end of the year for them.
I think it's become time where you're far enough away from, and who knows, he's probably still involved, but Kay, I'm sure he's still involved in a little bit, but you're starting to move farther and farther away from that era, and it's either you got to figure it out now or that height is kind of going away. But you know, in my opinion, until someone takes it away from UConn, I don't know. Like, there's no reason to say that UConn's not winning another national championship. I think people tried to say how hard it was to go back to back. They made it seem pretty easy, in my opinion. But that's just credit to how good their team is, really. And they'll reload again, and they'll have a great team, and they find a way in the tournament to just dominate defensively as well. So until someone proves that they can truly take it away, I see no reason to not say that UConn's probably the top team in the country.
Yeah. And Danny Hurley almost was a Lakers head coach for a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, they threw pretty much an insane amount of money. Can't remember the number, some hundreds of millions of dollars, but crazy. I mean, he's got it made there, and if he just continues to win, I don't see any reason why he would want to leave anyway, right? I mean, even to be the Lakers head coach, where if you are the Lakers head coach, are you? I don't know.
No, that's a terrible job.
You're dealing with superstars and LA, and he's got it made in Storrs, Connecticut. I mean, he's got it made there, and
he does.
And he does it every year in and year out so far, these last couple of years at least, and he's built it. And I don't think the Lakers' job was he may have taken an interview, but I don't know if that's really an intriguing job to anyone really in the profession.
Unless you're LeBron's podcasting partner, JJ Redick.
Yeah, and JJ is probably going to do great because he'll probably just sit back and take feedback and be kind of if he could probably, sit back and just kind of be a coach that listens to all the guys and says, what do we need to do? And the NBA is so different from college, where I think that's where Danny Hurley, would probably struggle, is like, you can't force these guys to do all the stuff that you can do at UConn, and so yeah, I think he's got it made at UConn.
Yeah.
I like them again going into next year.
3 in a row? You think
I
so?
don't just the way he gets his team going. I mean, what did they score 30 straight points against a really good Illinois team?
Oh, that was insane.
Like the way he gets his team going is unreal.
Yeah.
I think it's unlike any other kind of era of college basketball. There's some in the past where you could tell that teams were dominating, but like he doesn't kind of let his team have a hangover in games, especially in the tournament, which is super important. And they just go out there and win flat out.
Did you know when the last team has won 3 in a row at least?
It's got to have been a long time, right?
I believe it was in the 60s or 70s with UCLA.
Yeah.
That was the last time. So
it might have been with Bill Walton.
Yeah,
probably.
He's probably on one of those teams, but
obviously John Wooden, yeah.
But if you're a bettor out there, keep that in mind. It's been 50 plus years.
Time.
So
it's been a long time. Took John Wooden to do it.
Took John Wooden. Is Bobby Hurley not Bobby Hurley. Dan Hurley, John Wooden? No. But
They
we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah. Good team though. Very good team again. I'm sure he'll have them ready to go.
Yeah.
Again,
do you have an underdog or a dark horse in mind at all, or do you think he's going to make a run in the tournament?
It's so tough to tell right now with, we kind of are figuring out non-conference schedules and seeing who's going to be in. I think right now it's kind of the usual suspects. I mean, that's the whole thing with kind of non-conference college basketball is the preseason poll is so almost biased in a way. I just feel like you're just going to see Kansas, Duke in the top 5, We'll see what happens with Kentucky and Cal and leaving and going to Arkansas, which will be interesting. That'll be a great game to see when he goes back. And but right now it's so hard to tell. What do you think? I
agree. I mean, like today we just saw Joe Lenardi came out with another updated bracketology. Which don't get me wrong, I love Joe Lenardi. That's his job is to be a bracketologist, but nobody's going to be able to tell from a bracketology in August. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah, he should be on vacation still. He should still be hanging out.
What are we doing?
And doing some other stuff and playing golf or whatever he wants to do, because you don't even know half these teams' non-con schedules yet, and we're coming out and saying that this team's going to be a 3 seed. Yeah, you never know.
No.
So it'll be a while, but I'm excited because, I think we've talked about the realignment in so many ways for college football, but it also brings some really good matchups in the basketball world.
For sure.
That are really intriguing, and with the 4 teams joining the Big Ten and already great Big Ten league.
Yeah.
I think it'll be interesting. I mean, with Washington, like we're kind of familiar with Danny Sprinkle and know how good he's been everywhere. Like it wouldn't surprise me if they beat some teams that they shouldn't. And but I don't know. How do you think that kind of affects like the NCAA tournament going forward with realignment? In your opinion?
Yeah, I think it's just gonna bring more power to those Power 4, Power 5 teams. You're gonna see a lot more teams in those conferences with higher losses that get over teams in, let's say, the Mountain West or WCC or smaller leagues that aren't in those power conferences. But yeah, back to your point, going back to like the Big 12, we're gonna have Arizona visiting Fog Allen, and again playing Kansas, going to Houston. So there's gonna be some hell of games.
Yeah, it's gonna bring, and the same with football. I think it's the same with football where you go, like I'm definitely gonna miss watching Washington State, on the Palouse late at night, but it is gonna be interesting to watch, USC have to go to Wisconsin on a snowy night in Madison or something like that. Like it brings some different challenges. And then, in the basketball world, like I'll be curious to see how they judge, wins. Like, if Oregon goes on the road and beats Indiana, like, is that judged differently, or are they just going to say that's a conference win? But, I think it's going to have to take some kind of initial like thought process on that to say, okay, wait, that's just a conference road victory. That's not like this big,
like
outing,
non-conference,
but it seems like that to especially to West Coast basketball fans where, going to Ohio State or something, that's going to be a big game, but it'll be interesting to see how they judge those, and then obviously the big marquee matchups are going to be awesome.
I know, I'm not going to lie, it kind of worries me for the future of the non-power conferences, but we're going to see how it happens. And
no, I mean, like you were saying, like, you were talking a little bit before, like with Joe Lenardi's, bracketology, he only put one Mountain West team in there, and that was a six bid league,
highest ever.
Like, that's just, they obviously are not going to show as much respect, and you're going to have to earn it. And I thought the Mountain West earned it last year, and they got disrespected. So that's just going to tell you that, you're probably, if you're third or fourth in the Mountain West, like, you're going to be on your seat come Selection Sunday if you don't win the conference tournament. That's for sure.
Yeah, the Mountain West is in trouble, I feel, especially with everybody's anti-Mountain West, it feels like, especially from the East, which is good reason, too, because they don't watch a lot of games just because it's so late, as well as kind of the performance of Mountain West teams the last 3 years.
Yeah.
Obviously, San Diego State going to the national championship, but last year was iffy. A couple years ago, 3 years ago, 4 teams lost out of 4.
And that was before like 1 p.m. or something. That year?
So that was not a good look. But moving on to, I like to say that it's called the feast week, I guess, around Thanksgiving, those college basketball tournaments. I like to say that that's right up there with the opening day of March Madness. Obviously not the implications.
Yeah.
But one of the big tournaments that's new this year is the NIL tournament in Vegas. So that's $1 million if you win towards collectives in that.
Yeah, that's the new era of college basketball, I guess. But I mean, it's an interesting tournament. I think with college basketball, there's no there's obviously now you can have financial incentives, but I think those games would have been great anyway, even if it wasn't getting paid. But it just adds more, and it goes towards the collective of the school. But and whenever you can have good marquee matchups, I mean, it's good early in the season, especially during that week. It
says I'm looking at it right here. We got Bama, Creighton, Houston, Notre Dame, Oregon, Rutgers, San Diego State, and A&M have all committed to play so far. So
I mean,
that's pretty elite field.
You can't really go wrong with having and it's going to be in Vegas, which is now like the mecca of all sports. So I mean, you can't go wrong with having that and throwing a little incentive now that you can. I mean, why not? It makes sense. I'm not surprised by it. I don't know if it brings the level of the game higher. Like I feel like those teams are all going to be really good anyway, and it'll be good games. But I mean, what are your thoughts on that? I mean,
it's going to bring a whole new, like, obviously college kids play hard and are already playing for a lot, but if you put $1 million, like, they're playing for $1 million, like, who knows what that's going to lead. And also, maybe in 5 to 10 years, every single one of those tournaments is an NIL tournament.
That's what I'm curious to see. Like, some of these huge tournaments, like the Maui Invitational, like, did they just say, okay, the winner gets the money?
Yeah,
like,
I think so.
You might as well, now that you can, and as we see the NIL thing progress, and maybe that down the road it's a little more regulated, but it's kind of like the in-season tournament that the NBA does, where I mean, the guys are getting paid to win the game. Like, it's just going to bring a level of competition, that's greater, even though I think those are already great matchups and good teams. But I am excited to see that. It'll be a good, and I'm sure it's at the beginning of the year.
It's around. I think it's around Thanksgiving, probably. But I would love to get down there for that, but we'll see.
There's a lot of times where I would like to go to Vegas and watch sports, but it's just become the place to be. I guess So it'll be interesting.
Probably NBA team they're going down there soon, you would think.
I'm not. I wouldn't be surprised. And,
it should.
And
them in Seattle.
One in Seattle.
Yeah, that's all I want.
Even though I'm not, I'm a Washingtonian, but I'm not. Was never a Sonics guy. I was a Blazer fan. It's a rough time right now for my Blazers, but we'll be all right.
Yeah, they're on the rebuild.
I think we're already deciding to tank for Cooper Flag.
Cooper.
But we'll see. We'll see. If we win a couple games at the beginning of the year, I'll be happy. But
yeah. Speaking of Cooper Flag, this is kind of funny statistic. There hasn't been a white guy drafted first overall in like since the 80s.
Is it like American too?
Yeah, American white guy. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's really possible.
Which is crazy.
He's a great player,
Yeah.
but yeah, just
That is great. Last year there was a chance with Chet.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
So we'll see. That's funny. But so like I said, college basketball off season, not much going on as the episodes as we progress.
Yeah, there's a lot of schools are coming out with their non-conference schedules, and we'll see some of those. You know, I'm not a huge fan of the. Obviously the tournaments are great. I love watching the Maui and all those tournaments. Bahamas has a great one, but I'm not a huge fan of kind of the neutral site games. I like to see the home and home, but that's what realignment I think will bring a lot more of those, home and home type games where, you'll see top 10 matchups going to get against each other, in college gyms on campus, which is why I love the sport.
Yeah.
That's why we all love the sport.
Yeah.
So.
All right, moving on to college football. We had week 0 last week. The big story from that, Georgia Tech meets Florida State in Ireland and beats them on a game-winning field goal.
Yeah.
Is Georgia Tech good, or is Florida State just overrated?
Yeah, that's the real question,
Yeah.
right? I wasn't really impressed by Georgia Tech in that game, but I think the Florida State thing with they probably should have been in the playoff last year, yes, but then they all opted out of the bowl game, and I think Georgia beat them by 150 points.
150, yeah.
So that game wasn't even close, and then kind of to do their yapping over the off season, and then to go to Dublin and lay an egg.
Yeah.
And I watched the beginning of the game, and they put together the first drive that looked like they might be the national champions.
Yeah.
I saw a few people start tweeting like this team could be the national and then they were pretty much dominated. I don't think Georgia Tech is great by any means, but it must be rough to go all the way to Ireland and lose, especially as a fan.
Yeah, I saw I think it was their Florida State's Barstool account was like, you tried taking all that jet lag and winning a game down there. It was like Georgia Tech got to do it too.
Yeah. I mean, I know some people had fun. I don't know if you saw Pat McAfee. He was having fun on ESPN.
Yeah.
And people were clowning on him, but I thought it was pretty funny. He's an interesting character, and I mean, pretty good for ESPN. But I don't know. ACC game, which was at the beginning of the year, and so all of a sudden it just kind of puts them at the back of the pack. It's a decent ACC, and Clemson will be good, I'm sure, and. So, I'll be surprised. They can make the playoff.
They could, yeah.
But I don't know if they're really a good team.
Yeah, we'll see. They play Boston College next, who's not bad, but we'll see.
Yeah.
And I like Georgia Tech's quarterback, Hayes King, I believe.
Yeah.
He's a dog.
He was good.
He's getting a lot of carry. They might need to loosen up on his carries a little bit.
Yeah, he might need to work on the read option. Dropped the ball a few times, but kind of willed them. Their line pretty much dominated that game, the whole game. So it was good. I think week 0's a good little appetizer. I thought there was some interesting games going on with Delaware State missing their flight to go to Hawaii, which is an 11-hour flight they said or something. And then I don't know if you saw during that New Mexico game. They had stopped the game for a wind advisory or something
really?
that. Did you see that?
No.
Yeah. All of a sudden during the game, they just stopped the game because it was 70 miles an hour winds or something going on. And so interesting, classic college football stuff going on week 0. But I'm definitely excited to get into the real season for sure.
And I believe every underdog covered, which is rare.
And Delaware State or something over in Hawaii was 40 point.
And Nevada was 30.
Yeah,
Nevada. They should have beat SMU.
Yeah, Nevada, who was picked dead last in the Mountain West, had a pretty good outing as well.
Yeah. So some recent news in college football came out a couple days ago that there was a report that said Colorado assistant football coach attempted to raise NIL funding from Saudi Arabia. the assistant coach Trevor Riley said he traveled to the Middle East during this past holiday season to try and secure some funding from the public investment fund over there.
Did he say he was like going on vacation?
I don't know what he was doing like during that time.
I mean, we have Colorado back in the news. It's like it's what most people talk about. We're going to talk about it right now, like being hypocritical. But if they did secure something, I don't know what the selling point would be for a Saudi Arabian.
Yeah.
Like how they get. What do they have to go play over there at some point or something? I don't know. Like, I don't know what the deal would be for them, but yeah, that's crazy. Like,
yeah, it didn't go through, did it?
No,
like,
I don't think it did. But I mean, they obviously are willing to give out money, but true. I don't see what what their buyback would be for them. You know,
maybe they'd play like all these like. Florida State going to Dublin.
Yeah, they have to
Colorado
play
State plays in the Middle East.
In the Middle East and in the hot weather.
They probably never have any football games over there.
No, I don't even know if they're interested, but who knows, you know.
Because they just with the whole thing with Live, they're starting to throw money at golf at least. So who knows, maybe.
Yeah, if they would have secured something, I would have been curious to see like what that number would have been and how that would have worked with college athletics. A little different animal with just like giving money, but I mean that's definitely
like would that even be legal?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
And then there also another story that just came out today.
Yeah.
What were you telling me?
So apparently they Dion or something came out and said that Oregon and during their game was trying to tap into some practice footage. And if you watch that game, I watched it live. Mm-hmm. You wouldn't have needed a practice plan to know what was going to happen in that game because if they would have watched 2 seconds of practice and realized they don't have an offensive line. And I think they'll probably be better this year, but I don't know if that's just a way of just staying in the news for them or what, but kind of an interesting topic, I guess. But I mean, Colorado being in the news, Dion, it's just the topic of the week, whatever they got.
When are they not in the news?
Yeah, right.
But I just saw Shadur, I think, he just signed with Nike today.
That's right. Yeah.
So, I mean, good for him.
It'd be a great deal. And
yeah.
I do think he's a good player. He was sacked like 50 times or something last year, like an insane amount of times. So we'll see now that they're in the Big 12. A little different conference and see what they do, but it'll be interesting.
Yeah. Switching gears a little bit, I saw this recently. There was an argument of when is the worst time to lose? Like your team, you're watching your team. When is the worst time to watch your team lose? So if that's at 10 a.m. right when the game starts, if that's a prime time game, or if it's just like a Thursday random game, what's your take on that?
I think it's tough being the day, like, especially if it's like a big slate.
Yeah.
And your team loses early in the day, you almost don't even want to be around it.
No.
You know, I think if it's a primetime game and you lose, it's obviously probably a big game or whatever. I would say the morning, just because I don't want to watch my team lose and then have to watch more football. I'll probably just go outside and cry or something later, but I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, at least if your team loses a primetime game, you're building up the hype. You're watching games before. You're watching the other games. You get to spend the whole day waiting for it, and then you just kind of go to bed if it's late. But yeah, I would agree with you in the 10 o'clock. Or the early morning games.
Just if you want to put me out of my misery, let's do it early, and I'll go do something else for my Saturday instead of let it haunt me or do something like that. But I mean, if you're in a primetime game, you're probably a good team at that point, so it's a little different. But just get it out of the way for me early.
Cool. So now we're gonna pick a few games this weekend.
Oh, actually, I had something I was gonna ask you about. Yeah. In college football, obviously this won't apply to basketball, but they're kind of getting rid of walk-ons, right?
True, they are. They're trying to reduce.
Yeah, so they're gonna just give all scholarship. You're capped at this at the I think it was 105 or something like that. That's terrible.
Yeah, I hate to see that.
I know, and especially for, I'm assuming for college football you have a lot. You have scout team and that like. Now you got to convince a lot of scholarship players to do some things that they probably were not signing up to do, and just from your perspective as a former walk-on, obviously a different sport, but like kind of address that for me.
Yeah, I mean, I think, it's kind of a double-edged sword. Like you said, on one side, you are having to tell these people or tell these players who have scholarships that they're going to kind of have to take the back seat, and that sucks for them. But also you could look at it like maybe those would be walk-ons anyway. But
sure.
If they reduce the number drastically to just – because there's like 100.
It was definitely – it might have been 80 or something like that.
I'm going to look it up really quick.
Because, it could have been like 115 to 80 guys or something like that. I can't remember what the final number was.
All right, yeah, it says the NCAA may eliminate walk-on players in college football as part of a settlement. Does it say a number? Let's see. Okay, it says. Oh, wait. Maybe it's 105. I don't know.
Oh, maybe.
I did see something like 85.
I think some of these schools can have, you can have a certain amount of scholarships, and then you can have as many walk-ons as you want.
Okay.
Like as long as you pay, or have the money to, have that, big facility or something.
Yeah, but I do think it eliminates like someone like me who didn't really have any offers and just wanted to be a part of something bigger.
Right. Yeah.
Just do like star in your role, I guess. Like obviously I knew I was going to play, so I think it does eliminate those guys, and that does suck because the walk-ons are the backbone of your team, especially for football because there's so many for like scout team, and you just need more players. But that would be really unfortunate for them, and I don't know how it's going to work in basketball, but
yeah, it's a weird deal. I mean, I think that's been such a big thing in college athletics for so long, and you can also you never know if walk-ons can earn a scholarship and become players and become NFL players or go on and do great things, and even in basketball that's happened. I just think that would be a weird elimination in college sports to just kind of say none of that anymore, which has been around for so long and it's given so many different people opportunities in the past. So it'd be interesting to see that. I mean, that's something to keep an eye on for sure.
One kind of story that reminds me of that is, how Texas A&M used to have like 12 dudes on the kickoff a long time ago for the 12th man. But last year at one of their last games, I believe it was, they sent out 11 walk-ons on the kickoff team because they were up by a lot. But they went down there, kicked off, and I think they forced a fumble, and just like seeing those guys like
it's a little Rudy moment.
Rudy.
I mean, but it's just that would be a weird adjustment. It just kind of leads me towards like college football almost becoming its own thing.
Yeah.
And just making it basically we're basically having free agency. We basically have paying guys. Like it's becoming more and more like the pro sport. Even with the rule adjustments with like the 2-minute warning.
Yeah, I hate the 2-minute
weird it was just kind of the uniqueness of college football and we're moving towards it being a kind of the NFL aspect, but hey, it's still college football and still gonna watch, so not gonna stop me.
Can we talk about Rudy for a second?
Yeah, the Rudy story is so heartbreaking to me because as a kid, that was one of my favorite movies ever. And
I just recently learned about this. So if you don't know, Rudy is a football movie about this guy who his dream was always playing for Notre Dame, and basically the big part in the movie is he finally makes the team, was never going to suit up until all the players came in and
Yeah.
laid their jerseys down and said, "Coach, I'm not playing if Rudy doesn't play."
Yeah.
Or suit up.
They were
Suit up.
all going to give their jersey up for
Yeah.
Rudy.
And so the movie goes on. He gets in like the last play of the game on defense, and he ends up getting a sack, which did happen in real life. But apparently, like I just learned this, that he basically kind of faked the whole story for the movie.
The whole story is complete. And actually, the quarterback for Notre Dame was Joe Montana.
Mm-hmm.
And then apparently he had said some stuff about like, yeah, it wasn't. And he was lifted up on those guys' shoulders. But did you hear about that?
As like a joke.
Yeah,
like they were trolling.
They were
him.
like, those two guys were the biggest jokesters. They were big offensive lineman guys. They didn't play at all, and they were like, wouldn't it be funny if we just lifted Rudy up at the end of the game and pretended like he was won the game for us? And I think the game was already over.
Yeah.
He gets in the game and gets a sack. But after the game, they lift him up on their shoulders. They were just joking around. And in the movie, it's like this huge moment where his parents are crying.
Yeah.
That just never happened. It wasn't even part. But it's such a bummer because that was one of my favorite movies.
I know.
Growing
It's
up.
a great movie.
He's a real guy, but
and he did get a sack or half a sack.
Yeah, half a sack or something like that.
I looked up the footage the other day. There is.
It's an unfortunate
video proof.
Hollywood adjustment that happened there.
Yeah.
But.
Are you excited for the 12-team playoff this year?
Yeah, I am. I think I'm ready for it. I think we saw the completion of the 4-team kind of thing come to an end.
Yeah.
I feel like there wasn't a lot of differences, and I think it works out perfect with the conferences changing, and now we get a new thing kind of coming in with the playoff system.
Yeah.
And I think it'll be cool to see that first round on campus and watch some matchups that we might not have seen before.
Mm-hmm.
This team going to, we could end up seeing, Boise State or something going to Tennessee, wherever, that'd be cool. I think we'll probably end up seeing the same teams kind of by 4 teams, but more college football is more college football at that point.
Yeah, because it's not like basketball where any team can beat any team. Yeah. You just got to make shots. It's kind of, if you're a better team, you're 90% you're going to win.
Yeah.
So
it does add a couple games.
Yeah.
So you never know if someone gets banged up or whatnot. But it will be interesting. It definitely will be. I'm a pretty big believer in the Rose Bowl should be the national championship.
Okay.
The whole time. Yeah. That's kind of my hill I'll die on. The Rose Bowl should be the national championship game every single year.
Mm-hmm.
How that will never happen because I know that they just don't do it like that.
West Coast.
But there's something about the Rose Bowl being in the national championship brings out great games. So I think, especially when it was like the BCS era, I think that should be a permanent adjustment.
Yeah.
Which I don't think it will happen, obviously, but
wasn't Texas USC at the Rose Bowl?
That's one of the greatest games of all time.
Right up there with Boise State, Oklahoma.
Yeah, the lateral.
The hook and ladder.
Hook and ladder.
Yeah. Okay, so now we're going to pick some games for this weekend. All right, joining us now is current Boise State men's basketball player RJ Keene. Today we are going to be going through a few games and picking this weekend's week 1 college football games. RJ, how you doing?
Doing great. Thanks for having me, boys. Pleasure.
For sure. Thanks for coming on. All right. So we have our first game, which is Thursday, tomorrow. Probably will be already played by the time this episode comes out, but we have North Dakota State at Colorado. So, Beal, want to take us off on that?
I think this is going to be an interesting one. I think you got Dion, you got the all the noise that they bring, but North Dakota State's the one team that you shouldn't schedule, especially in the past. But I think Colorado sneaks this one out. I think this isn't necessarily a North Dakota State teams of the past, but this game's going to be really close. I don't know how much Colorado's really improved, but I think they sneak away with this one at home, getting it done.
Yeah, I would agree. I would like to see North Dakota State win, but I think the people are too far on them. So I'm going to have to go Colorado as well in a close game. RJ?
I think this is an obvious choice It's North Dakota. It's always been. It's a week one flunk by Dion. We all seen it before. His boys are not ready. Travis Hunter overrated. Shador overrated. It's going to be the FCS shows the FBS what ball is.
Let's go.
They do play that. They do play the big man football. I will give you
They
that.
do. They
It'll
play
be
that pound
interesting
the
to
ground.
see.
North Dakota State. It's going to be a
Yeah,
no brainer.
it'll be a clash of styles. It'll be fun.
Bison versus Buffalo.
34-31 North Dakota State.
I like it. I like it. All right, next game we got Clemson versus Georgia.
I'm I'm not super high on Clemson this year. I think the run of Dabo might be we might be seeing the kind of the tail end of his run at Clemson. I think his lack of kind of the adaptation of the new era of college football I think this year's the year it's coming back to haunt him. I think Georgia wins this one pretty handily. I don't see this game being necessarily great. I could be wrong, but I don't see this game being close, if I'm being honest.
I'm gonna have to agree with you. I'm going Georgia. Uh, like I said, it's Georgia. The only thing that can stop them is drunk driving. But not much going on down there. But yeah, I'm taking Georgia and by 3 or 4 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, it's the obvious pick. Dabo, this is last year there. He hates Clemson. He hates himself. He doesn't like being there anymore. And it's obviously Georgia. Georgia by 40. Cade Kuberneck is the worst quarterback in college football. Been saying that from Texas. Overrated. I like I like Carson Beck and the Cavender to win.
Yeah, if he puts on a show that he might jump up to number one in the early Heisman rankings, and it's gonna be a game for him if he pulls it off.
For sure. All right, we have our game of the week. We have Boise State at Georgia Southern. Boise State. Well, obviously, we went there, and RJ plays there, so go to the school. But who do you got?
I I'm a little interested in this game. I think it's an easy game. I think week one there's gonna be some jitters. There's gonna be some bad plays, a little quarterback controversy for the Broncos. It'll be interesting. I think this game's gonna be really close for most of the game. I think Boise State wins by 10 would be my guess, but tough game. You got a big opponent next week that you can't overlook this Georgia Southern team, especially in the deep South where they're at, and having to go down there, which is a unique thing for Boise State. So got to rely on Ashton Genty just to get us through that game and get the season off to a 1-0 start for the first time in a while.
Yep. I'd also have to agree with you. I'm going Boise State. I think it is going to be a pretty close game for the majority of it. Like you said, they got Oregon the next week, so can't be overlooking this one especially. But it's going to be Boise State by 10 as well.
Yeah, I agree. Georgia Southern is a great running back. I think our defense is a little sketchy. I have some inside sources. Our defense is not looking good in camp. And Mad Dog, I think he's going to prove the haters wrong. Little Drew Brees style QB. And I think he's going to get the job done. I think Boise State by 15.
Yeah. Yeah, it's gonna be a fun year. I think it'll be good, but tough game to start the year for the Broncos, I think.
Yeah, in Savannah, who scheduled that?
Yeah.
Yeah. They got a good thing they had those inferno practices to get them ready.
Yeah, get that thing heated up, man.
I know.
Next game, we have Miami at Florida. Florida probably has one of the toughest schedules in the country, and they're starting it off with a ranked Miami team. Who do you got?
I think it's a do or die year for Mario Cristobal and in his alma mater in Miami, and he makes some coach blunders that are just haunt coaches, especially last year Georgia Tech, all that stuff. I I think he needs to prove that he belongs and he can recruit with the best of them. Can he put it together? Got a good quarterback in Cam Ward from Washington State, good running back Damian Martinez from Oregon State. I think they can get it done in the swamp. I'm not super high on Florida. I think it'll be a rough year for the Gators too.
Yeah, I'm gonna go against you, and I'm gonna pick Florida. You know, when I think they're gonna start their season off with a win, and we'll see what happens after that. But I think they're gonna get Miami at home.
I think this is an obvious win. It's Miami. It's Cam Ward. This is going to be his breakout year. And Carter Ward, proud. Miami all the way.
Shout out to the boys at Incarnate Ward. All right, this one is a Sunday game. We have USC versus LSU in Vegas.
Can't forget that Max Teams didn't answer his phone, so he would have been on this, but he decided not to answer his phone.
We get all three of those boys picks, but we got USC LSU.
Las Vegas, big matchup. LSU, USC. To me, in RJ's words, this is an obvious choice. This is LSU. USC is not going to be good this year. I'm not high on Lincoln Riley. I think the boys from Baton Rouge are going to stomp USC. I think this is a 3 touchdown plus game. I'm not big on USC this year. Teams
Fight
going to
on.
need to fight on, but they're going to have a rough going. I think it's going to be a not really a close game in Vegas on Sunday night.
Yeah,
Great call out, Beal.
I would have to agree. LSU, SEC school, they're going to dominate them. LSU all the way.
I'm just nervous about USC's defense. I don't know how, and obviously I'm not some insider, but they fired their defensive coordinator during the middle of last year. They gave up 45 points a game. It seems like they just couldn't really stop anyone. Until they prove me wrong, I think it's going to be a struggle for them going forward.
Yeah, it's obvious. As Beal would say, this is an obvious pick. The boys are going to Vegas, which means the USC boys are not ready for Vegas. My Baton Rouge boys will be dialed in. I
don't know if you heard that quote from that LSU offensive lineman, I believe. He came in and he was on a presser and he said, "Yeah, we ain't coming there to go to Caesar's Palace. We're going there to dominate." So that just locked me in on LSU firmly.
Yeah, it's the Lincoln Riley hangover year. No Caleb Williams. They were mediocre last year. They're in LA. They're lost in the sauce. This ain't Beverly Hills anymore. It's Baton Rouge football we're talking about. And that's one thing about Baton Rouge football is it's a bloodbath. LSU by 30.
Do you think USC does the crawl walkout like last time they did? And I think Alabama beat them by 50 points or something like that.
All right, last game we have Notre Dame visiting College Station and playing Texas A&M. Who you got?
I think the Irish are gonna go down and win this game. I think it's gonna be close. I'm not super high on the boys from Notre Dame, but they have a clear path to the playoff if they can take care of their games that they need to take care of. They play that independent schedule, so they've got some games where they can, rest up almost. But I think Notre Dame is capable enough to go down there. I'm not super high on A&M this year. I think Notre Dame gets this one done.
All right, I'm gonna go Notre Dame as well. I love their coach. I think they're just going to go in there. Texas A&M has been up and down the last few years, so I'm going Notre Dame.
See, I've been on your guys' side for a while now. And this is where we cross the line. Those boys are going to College Station. Those South Bend little boys going to College Station. They're not going to know what hits them. The male cheerleaders, the yell leaders, are going to come in there and beat them by 24 points.
24
Texas
points.
A&M,
Book it down. Book
34,
it now.
Notre Dame, 10. Go Yale leaders.
Wow.
All right.
Great picks from our boy RJ here.
Appreciate you for being the first ever celebrity picker.
Thank you for the insight. We'll keep track of all the celebrity guest pickers and kind of a game day-esque, but upgraded because we actually have insiders.
Thank you for having me, boys.
All right. Thanks, bro.
Yeah, you got anything else?
No, man, this was fun. We'll have to get on a good schedule with this kind of thing. It's been fun, but
hopefully we'll come out with maybe weekly episodes. We're obviously trying to get more guests on. Once basketball season gets closer, we'll get some basketball guests. Make sure you view us on YouTube, Instagram, Spotify, at Orange Ball Podcast and Orange Ball Media on Instagram. And yeah, just feel free to DM us if you have any questions or guest suggestions.
Yeah, it'll be fun. Once we get into college basketball and college football, kind of that overlap, it'll be a lot more to talk about. But just gearing up for it. So I'm excited for this, and let's do it, man.
Yep, appreciate it. All right, well that's all we got today, and we'll see you next time.